Thank you for watching this edition of Subconscious Fat. Today I'm going to talk about genetics. Yeah, a nice little yacht passed by there. Genetics. Okay, I'm going to talk about my own family history and how genetics may or may not have affected my genes. And I think people give way too much emphasis on genetics. And this is where someone like Mr. Skeptical would argue with me, like, what are you talking about? Genetics affects everything, and how you look is all based on genetics, and that's part of it. That's part of it. Genetics might play a role up to 50%, but I really don't think it plays more because remember, genes get activated, turned on, turned off. We might inherit those genes from our parents, but then our environment will turn those genes on or off. See the difference? So I think at max, genetics play a 50% role. And sometimes, yeah, you might inherit a very bad disease and you're born with a disease or something. That's definitely genetic. But that doesn't mean that maybe while the mother was pregnant, if she had done things differently, maybe that gene wouldn't have gotten passed on, or maybe that gene wouldn't have gotten turned on while she was pregnant or right after she gave birth. When the baby is growing up, and there's certain windows of opportunity where the baby will adapt to its environment. And this is where genes can get turned on and turn off. And we've seen this scientifically. We've seen the science behind this. It's not all genetics, it's also hugely environment. It's always a combination of nature and nurture. And part of the nurture is simply the culture. Like, for example, with me in my case, both of my parents were born in Cuba. And, on my father's side, I have German ancestry. His grandfather went from Germany to Cuba. And then on my mother's side, I have more Spanish ancestry. Either way, the point is that there's ancestry there, and with that comes culture. And for me, I inherited the Cuban culture, which kind of means you can eat a lot of rice and black beans. Okay, that's what I grew up eating. I would have a chicken or I would have a meat. I would have plantains and I would have rice and black beans just about every day growing up. But because I was born in New York and raised here in the United States, I also ate a lot of cereal, which I've explained before. The cereal probably caused my teeth not to fully develop, to be crowded at the bottom of my mouth because I didn't get enough chewing done as a child growing up because I ate flimsy cereal, fruity pebbles, honeycombs, Cheerios, those type of cereal. Not good for developing the jaw. And when you're eating cereal like that at a young age, you're not chewing enough strong foods, then that's where you can end up with crowded teeth. I've spoken about this before in another video. In any case, let's take a deeper dive into the genetics.
So these are my parents. This is a picture taken back in 1968. This could be the day that I was actually conceived because I was born in 1969 from these two 19-year-olds, my parents. And yeah, they're both still alive now and they both have high blood pressure. These are my grandparents on my mother's side. And the one on the right, my grandmother, she lived to 104 years old. And she was only on one medication when she passed away, high blood pressure. My grandfather on the left lived to about 94 years old. He was also had high blood pressure and was on high blood pressure medication. And this was me in my early 20s. You can see there, you may not see it clearly, but I'm wearing a chiropractic t shirt. This is when I was in chiropractic school, and I have luggage there because I'm about to go to the airport. I was going to chiropractic school in Dallas, Texas, and I already had high blood pressure. In my early 20s, I already had it. So both my parents, my grandparents, like everybody in my family, has high blood pressure, and I already have it in my early 20s. Now, I was always like 130 over 90. I never took any medication for it, but it was just barely high. It was still high, but not really enough for me to take medication. And you know what? I wouldn't have anyway, because at this time I was in chiropractic school and I didn't really believe in taking medication for almost anything at the time. I wanted to do things naturally. That's part of the reason why I was in chiropractic school to begin with. I gravitated to the idea of doing things naturally. And you know what? I was right. I'm very happy I never took blood pressure medication because things changed over time. Now, this is another picture of me in my late 30s. I still have high blood pressure? Of course I did. I kind of have a little bit of a gut. I don't have good muscle definition. I'm not in shape here. And so, yes, my blood pressure was still high, 190 over 30. It was the same. It was literally the same for like 20 years. Not on a great diet. I thought I was on a good diet. I was eating lots of fruits and vegetables all day, and then I would typically eat meat at night as my final meal, but I wouldn't eat much protein. But I was not in great shape, and my blood pressure was still high. And here's a more recent picture of me. I'm 56 years old here. What do you think? Do you think my blood pressure might be better? Well, I'm about 16 years older here in this picture than I was in the previous picture. I'm older, so you'd think, no, the blood pressure should be getting worse. Well, no, that's not what happened. My blood pressure is totally normal now, and I do look different. I have a six pack now, which I did not have when I was in my late 30s, early 40s. And I'm going to prove to you that my blood pressure is good. So here's the last time that I checked my blood pressure. You see here, I'm pressing it. You see the numbers, they're moving. The pad is squeezing my arm. I'm getting my blood pressure checked here. This was literally about a week ago that I checked my blood pressure. And understand that the normal ranges for blood pressure, 120 over 80, has changed dramatically in the last few decades. They keep making it lower and lower, likely so that pharmaceutical companies can sell more drugs. That's just reality. I'm going to have a link where I talk about that specifically. You can check out one of the links below where I talk about that specifically. But you're going to see here in a moment, the blood pressure is going to be, if I recall correctly, it is exactly 120 over 74. Is that?
Okay, so my blood pressure now at age 56 is 120 over 74. It's better. It's better than it was in my early 20s. But yet someone could still say, oh, but it's your genetics. Well, I mean, no, I don't think it's genetics. I think that eating rice and black beans, I would say it's more culture. Culture. I would say eating rice and black beans and plantains, growing up eating that, which is super carb heavy, made me gain weight, which made me have high blood pressure. Okay, that's what I think is the real cause. I do not think it's genetic. But someone could argue, but your grandparents had high blood pressure since they were young. Yeah, they did. So what? They were also in Cuba eating lots of corn, eating lots of rice and black beans, not eating healthy foods, eating filler foods, eating what generations of humans have done because all the animals have been killed off and we had to go to agriculture and we had to farm. And we thought farm was this great thing. Yeah, maybe it allowed for civilization. Okay, maybe we didn't have to keep hunting animals, and there's some big benefits to farming. Of course there is. But once we stopped hunting, once we stopped eating those big animals, then our health didn't improve. And yes, we can still farm. We domesticated the cow. We eat cows, we eat lamb, we eat these other things, turkey, chicken. That's all good. But we still rely too much, in my opinion, on vegetables, fruits, uh, farming, agriculture, which is not the ideal. Let's look at the science behind rice and black beans and why maybe that can have something to do with you having high blood pressure.
So here's a typical Cuban dish. This is literally what I grew up eating almost every day. Just switch out that steak, throw in some chicken, throw in different types of meat, pork, chicken, maybe a fish once a week. And the plantains, the rice and black beans, I mean, that would remain the same every single time. And this is super carb heavy, not what I would eat now. What would I eat now? I would remove the plantains, the rice and black beans, and throw in another steak. I would probably eat two of those steaks. The onions, I would keep them. And maybe I would eat one plantain because they are very tasty. Okay, let's look at the macro breakdown. So, 1 cup of rice, 45 grams of carbs, only 4 protein. Absolutely terrible. That's just a ton of carbohydrates. Remember, carbohydrates ultimately breaks down into sugar. It becomes sugar in the end. Black beans. Everyone thinks, oh, but it's healthy. You still have 20 grams of carbs and you only have 7 of protein. It's not healthy. Oh, but I'm getting protein. Yeah, 7 grams. Hello, that's not a lot. That's not enough for a man, especially, to have muscle. You're getting way more carbs. This is, people talk, and even my own grandfather said black beans are like the best food you can eat. Sorry, Grandpa. No, I mean maybe you're overturning in your grave now. I don't know, but they're not. Okay, it's better than junk food. Yes, it's better than eating the rice alone. Yes, if you eat the black beans by themselves without the rice, yes, that's better, of course, but still not ideal. Fried plantains, 35 to 45 grams of carbs, only 1 or 2 protein. Yeah, more fat, which is not so bad, but still terrible. Way more carbohydrates. The palomilla steak, now we're talking 40 to 50 grams of protein, great. That's what you want. You're better off eating 2 of those and just be done with it. But when you look at this, when I eat 1 palomilla steak with the rice, with the black beans, with the fried plantains, are you kidding me? Of course I'm going to gain weight. I mean, maybe when I was in high school in my early 20s and playing football in high school, not even in my early 20s. I played 1 year of college, but when I played football in high school, sure, I could eat this type of food and I would burn it off because I was running around playing football. But after that, once I was in chiropractic school, I mean, it's a good thing I went away for chiropractic school because if I was eating like this, if my grandmother kept cooking this food for me every day and I wasn't away in college, I would have gained a lot more weight. I just would have. This is not healthy eating.
So there you have it, some of the science, some of the simple explanation as to why I used to have high blood pressure and why maybe, yes, my gene was turned on. I inherited the high blood pressure gene from my parents and my grandparents, perhaps, and it was turned on by a bad diet. When I switched my diet and I went keto carnivore, despite being 54 years old, at least now, by the time I'm 56, my blood pressure is normal now when it hasn't been normal for decades. So this is how you can explain nature. I got the genes for blood pressure, nurture. Once I started eating better, maybe those genes started getting turned off and my blood pressure went down. You see, so stop blaming genetics. Genetics can only, my opinion, give you up to 50% of what's going on. You can influence greatly through diet, healthy lifestyle, and improving your health. And if you need guidance with that, then reach out to me. This is what I do. This is about longevity. I might show the pictures with my 6 pack and all of that, but this is about living longer. I now have less higher blood pressure than I did when I was in my 20s. Think about that. And that's just blood pressure. How many of you out there have problems sleeping? Because guess what? When you gain weight, you know what else you get? You get sleep apnea. This part here gains weight. It blocks your breathing. You end up getting sleep apnea. You may not get high blood pressure. You might be getting prediabetes. You might be getting heart disease, something else. Um, Gastric issues. I had a ton of gastric issues. I almost got my gallbladder taken out. I haven't even spoken about that. Both my grandmother and my mom got their gallbladder taken out. When I was at Mount Sinai Hospital, the doctor looked at me and just said, "Why don't you just get your gallbladder taken out now? Like, what, you want to go through this pain again?" Talking to me condescendingly, like insulting me, like telling me, like, get with the freaking program. Your mom and your grandmother both have their gallbladder taken out. I mean, like, hello, you're getting all this freaking pain. Like, Just get your gallbladder taken out. And yet she couldn't tell me that on the MRI and the ultrasound that there was direct evidence that there was a gallbladder issue. And she was condescendingly talking to me, trying to get me to get my gallbladder taken out. And I said no. And instead, I fasted for 7 days, which was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life because I was coming off of a fruit and vegetable diet. And then trying to fast is like, oh my God, it was terrible. Very different than when you fast coming off of a keto, a carnivore diet. But anyway, the fasting still worked. I never got my gallbladder taken out, despite the fact that both my grandmother and my mom have. So stop blaming genetics, take responsibility for your health, look into your health, and if you need guidance, reach out to me and I will help you. I don't just help guys lose weight. I help them improve their health outcomes. I help them improve their lab work. I help them slowly get off of different drugs. It's always their choice, and it's a choice you should make with a doctor. You do have to be careful. You don't want to get off of drugs too fast. It can have dire consequences when you do that. But if you do it carefully, in a logical, scientific way, there's just upside. There's no downside to it. In any case, thank you for watching this edition of Subconscious Fat. I'll be back again Monday with another video and Thursday with Mr. Skeptical. Bye.